Greetings. This is TimeRider at Chapter 4. It's a beautiful day here in Minneapolis, and it brings back memories of my mother's voice saying, "Stop being such a houseplant. Why don't you go out and play? Grab your sled and take it to the hill." Well, I might be a little old for that, but there's nothing wrong with hanging out on a Saturday and doing another Matchbox restoration. I hope you enjoy. Today's restoration is going to be the Matchbox 8E Ford Mustang. It was introduced in 1966 and represents a 1965 Mustang Fastback. It was introduced into the Superfast era, and it's not really that rare, but I was really excited when I got this casting because I like the car. Mine was a little bit beat up, but we can make that right again. As you can see, it was a little chipped up. It's the regular wheels version, white with the red interior. The wheels actually did turn, but the mechanism didn't operate smoothly, which kind of indicated to me that there might be something wrong with the mechanism itself. If you notice on the turnaround here, the switch for turning the wheels is all the way to the back, yet the wheels are straight. And if I messed around with it a little bit, I could get them to work. So something inside was probably bent or no longer the proper shape. Now just hold on a second there. This Matchbox came in another variation. It came in burnt orange. It was a rare variation that oftentimes was sold at auction for $375 to $400, as it did at this Vectis auction. Wouldn't it be far more interesting to restore this plain Jane white Mustang to the burnt orange variety? I think so. So let's go.
Here we go. That's it.
Alright, enough of that. We got it apart. Let's take a good look at the casting. Looks to be in pretty good shape. Button screws all threaded in. Chips here and there. All in all, though, not too bad. Roof is a little hacked up. Let's see the inside. Inside looks pretty good, actually very clean, although that wonderful red trailer hitch looks like it's been stressed. We'll have to give that some love. The glass, some fine scratching. Looks like maybe has a little crack in the front. I don't have a replacement windshield, so I'm just going to have to reuse this one. And here's that bottom piece. Yeah, see, it works, but it looks like the spring has kind of been bent out of shape and it's no longer holding the little actuator rod down on the axle. So we're probably going to have to spend some time with that, but that's all right. I think this is all very fixable. All the pieces are here, I'll give it that. The bottom doesn't look too bad, but maybe I'll spend some time on that too. I won't make you suffer with any more of the Hamster Dance, but I need to get the bottom of this apart, so very carefully I need to drill the post in the middle of that little spring until I can get it off of there so I can straighten. So I removed the wheels, and other than shots of the back of my hand, which are not particularly interesting, here's me tossing it all into a bin, all the little bits and pieces. And we all know how I remove the wheels anyway. Followed it up with my special TR mat. I'm going to go into competition with Marty. Shot it up with some citrus stripper. Used a little brush to kind of coat the model all over. Then, of course, after a little bit, into the bath with a little bit of dishwashing soap, scrubbing off the white. After I'm done with that, I get out my picks and my toothpicks and my safety pins and try to clean up as much of this casting as I can. And here what I'm using is a brass wheel. It's softer than the metal so that the model's made out of, so it doesn't really damage it, but it helps me get into those crevices and places that it's really tough to get at with a pick or a pin. Usually works really well too. Once I've completed it, I kind of give the model a good once over, make sure that there aren't any damaged areas that need to be addressed. Looking over the chassis next because I am going to paint that black. Everything looks pretty good. I don't have any video of me priming the model. I either forgot or it was just the back of my hand and I decided not to bother. Here I am pouring my little paint mix into my airbrush. I'm using testers on the body, and I started with orange, and I added about 10 or 12 drops of red to try to get it a little bit to the red side, but I wanted to stay mostly on the orange side. And here I am starting to lay on the first coat of the orange paint. I feel much more comfortable with my airbrush now than I did when I first started airbrushing. Like anything, the more you do it, the better you get at it, and I think I've gotten pretty good at it, getting nice even coats and not going too heavy, and I'm getting the consistency of the paint, the correct viscosity, so it comes out of the brush nice but doesn't splatter. And here's what I wound up with after a second coat. I had let it sit for a little bit, and here you see me applying that second coat. I'm sorry, my autofocus went nuts on me here. Shooting the bottom because I want to make sure that the insides of the wheel wells get caught. Nothing worse than putting a model together and looking in the wheel well and seeing nothing but gray primer. As I said before, I always shoot the light color first, and then I did a quick clean. Here I am laying some black on the chassis. I'm using Tamiya for the base, mostly because I spilled my tester's black and I don't have any left. What I'm using here is a tea candle to just soften up that plastic. You need to be careful though, because plastic and fire don't mix very well. Softens it up and I can straighten it out and let it cool. So now that I got the basic paint work done, it's time to work on, I guess you'd call them the fiddly bits. I want to get the tires off of all these rims, and my hands are so big, it's not easy for me to pry them off. So that's how I did it. Then I threw the tires themselves into a small cup with some tire wash and sort of swished them around. The chrome was kind of flaking off, so this is actually a nylon brush that I have for my Dremel, and I wanted to be able to try to rechrome them, but I didn't want to damage them. They were already kind of scuffed up from being played with, but I just wanted to get the flaky bits of chrome off so that I could rechrome them with my chrome pen. So don't ask me where I came up with this idea. I wanted to paint them, and my fingers are big like I'm always talking about, so I can't really hold them while I paint them. So I took a small box and punched some holes in it and stuck toothpicks in it. This is like tape you'd use if you painted your wall, and I use it because the paint lays on it really well, because I'm going to be pushing it out of a pen. I'm not using bottle paint here. I want to try to use my chrome paint. Honestly, I wasn't real happy with the end result. It wasn't what I had hoped, but I thought it was an interesting way to go about it, and here I am painting each of the hubs. I was cleaning the interior and I was going to use just glass plus with no ammonia, so I sprayed it down. And then I took a toothbrush that has never seen stripper, because stripper will eat plastic. Trust me, I know this to be true. I mentioned the mishap with my little rotating table, and it had to do with stripper. Then I took my airbrush hose, turned on the airbrush, and I used the hose to blow off the moisture. I wanted to give the glass a little bit of attention, so I grabbed my Novus products and I used the cleaner. And then I used Novus number 2 after I had cleaned it. I still wasn't very happy with it, so I actually went at it with a little bit of Mother's polish, which I use. It's a little bit heavier polish. And then I did the Novus again after I had done the Mother's. And as you'll see here in a second, the end result wasn't perfect, but it turned out pretty good. And here's the glass. Yeah, it had a crack in it, and there's a couple scratches on the back window that didn't go away, but it's as good as it's gonna get, so I'm gonna use it. If I had more time, I might have ordered one. And here's some footage of the leg of a nearby stool and my dog's bowl of water, something I stare at when I'm just dumbfounded, and shouldn't everybody have footage of this when they do a restore? And here's our final reveal. I think I hit the color pretty close. I'm really happy with this particular model in spite of the little crack in the windshield. As always, I'm going to throw a couple of stills on the back side of the video, but I think it looks pretty good. You'll notice my little rotating table is no longer clear. That's what happens when you get stripper on it. I bought some accent paint from Menards. It's kind of a rough surface paint, and I covered it with that. It covers up the imperfections nicely. But anyway, here it is, the Matchbox 8E in burnt orange. This is TimeRider at Chapter 4. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe.